Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassidy Carson and this is the life of a writer. Today is January 22nd, 2026, and if you saw my video yesterday, I was feeling a bit out of sorts and it showed. Part of the reason was that I did not have my normal cup of morning coffee. I decided to have decaf because I do try to behave myself. Caffeine tends to build up in my system over time, I think, and after I've had it for a series of days, I may not feel very well. So I was trying to be good and take a break. But I think that coupled with the gloomy weather really tanked my mood and I couldn't think straight. So I met JT for lunch at a local restaurant called Mom and Pop's. It's near Kama Coffee where he works in the mornings. It's in another historic building in downtown Carson City, across the street from the Nevada State Legislature, which has grown quite a bit over the years, and it is definitely an interesting place. The vibe is really cool. So if you are in Carson City and you're looking for some good old-fashioned home-cooked food, maybe a little too good or old-fashioned because it's got an interesting vibe, but you can check it out. It's in what they call McFadden Plaza, next door to Scoops, which is an ice cream and soup place. I still feel like that is a brilliant idea because you're covering both seasons. You have the soup for the winter and the ice cream for the summer. So basically you're covered year round. And those two are across from the Fox, which is a brew pub in the old St. Charles Hotel. Then on the other side of the Fox is Kama Coffee. So that's a little bit about that part of Carson City. I won't go too much further into that. So the topic of my conversation today is something that I realized this morning. It was based on the fact that I had a TikTok memory come up from this time last year, January 22nd, 2025, when I was working on Passion Restored, which I released in July. And as I've mentioned, I'm working on the second book in the Restless Spirit series, which will follow Passion Restored. And I am in the exact same place with book 2 that I was in with book 1 last year. And I was talking about the fact that I'd been having troubles finishing my draft. And part of the delay on finishing the draft allowed me the chance to come to a realization about something that I needed to include in the book. Now, I don't know whether that improved Passion Restored the way I thought it would, but I've had the exact same thing happen over the last 24 hours, basically, because I was revising my first draft of book 2 of Restless Spirits before I sent it off to my betas. And as I wrapped up the last chapter that I was having a real problem with, I realized that I'd done something that made absolutely no sense. So I'm going to have to go back and fix that today. I'm glad I found it before I sent it out for people to read, because I would have found it a little bit embarrassing, honestly. But now I have a whole new backstory for one of the characters based on this boo-boo that I made in the manuscript. And I'm going to be adding something else into the book, because the Restless Spirit series is not only about a TV show and fans of the show and the actors in the show and things like that. It's also about kind of pop culture and modern pop culture versus the past. In Passion Restored, I included between chapters little snippets of social media posts as well as historic newspaper articles, because I felt they were a good juxtaposition, because the newspapers of the 1870s would print little blurbs, little gossip blurbs. And Mark Twain was really good at coming up with, he actually did full-blown stories that weren't always true. Um, they might have been based on truth, but they could go a little off the deep end. And that actually is going to play into Battleborn Bride, which should be coming out in October of this year. But I digress. So the social media posts and the newspaper articles are juxtaposition, but I didn't have anything really for book 2 other than the fact that the main characters are trying to put together a series of video webisodes, you might say, because they're trying to connect with some of their younger grandchildren. And that's fine. That's a big part of the story, but I didn't have really anything in between the chapters. So I came up with a way to include something. It's not necessarily social media related, but I think it will play up more of the romantic element of the story if it works out the way I hope. So even though I had hoped to send this off to the betas last night, I'm going to spend today adding those few little bits and pieces that I think will really bring everything together and get it sent off. And then I will start working on the revision of book 3, which is already written, and get that cleaned up. So that will be ready to go hopefully in June. So I'm looking at back-to-back releases pretty much April and June of books 2 and 3. I may work on book 4 and try to get it out in time for the holiday season, but that could be a push because I really need to finish Battleborn Bride. I want to release that on Nevada Day. And I'm really excited about that because it's going to be a lot more historical than romance. And it's a lot of things that I learned through my time working at the Nevada State Archives. And I think it is an important story to be told because there are elements of Nevada history that some people don't know that they might enjoy picking up reading a fictional story or a story about fictional people involved with historic events. So to go back to the main part of my discussion for today is that the realization that I was in the exact same place that I was on this day last year with the previous book I released. And I was looking at my full-size Christmas tree, the main Christmas tree that's still up in my living room, and thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to take that down. Once I finish this, I need to take that down. I have so much to do, and oh, I'm never going to get everything done. And the second realization hit me that I am very easily overwhelmed, and I do it to myself. It's not anything exterior. This is all internal, me pressure myself to do things on a certain timetable. And I have discussed, releasing books on a schedule this year, self-imposed schedule, but I really want to get these books because they've been floating around in my head for years at this point. And I feel like if I don't get them out there, I'm going to really need to work harder to, calm my inner monologue because, it's just, sometimes it's on a loop. And I'm sure other writers may understand that feeling because, as I've mentioned in previous videos here, it is hard to take a break from your own brain. So the overwhelm, looking at things that I feel like I need to do right away. I mean, who cares if I have Christmas up and it's almost the end of January, really? JT enjoys it. I enjoy it. It's not hurting anything. I am feeling like I need to move on from the season. So that may be some of the pressure I'm putting on myself, but that shouldn't be a negative pressure. That should be me feeling like, okay, I think I need to transition. It's good to clean things up a little bit. I do need to do some major house cleaning, and things fall by the wayside when I'm deep into writing. And I'm trying to find a lot of balance in my life. And at this point, I haven't been all that successful because, I'll be like, I need to finish this right now, and then I can do that. But maybe I should do a little bit of this right now and a little bit of that right now, and I won't feel so overwhelmed. What a concept. Again, I'm sure there are some of you who may have stumbled across this video that would feel like you're being validated, maybe. So along with the overwhelm, comes the inability to actually accomplish anything. The feeling that there's so much to do, I can't do anything, so I just won't do anything. And that's a real problem for me because I overwhelm myself to the point where I end up sitting in front of the TV watching old TV shows. And I'm really working on breaking that habit right now. Not that it's a terrible habit, because at this point in my life I can get away with it, um, you know, but I want to accomplish things. Consuming media is fun. I've done it for years and I will continue to do it because I love TV and movies and books and plays and all kinds of things. Artwork. I love going to museums. I love history. There's so much that I love. There are so many things to do that sitting down to watch TV just feels like a waste of time. So I need to work on the overwhelm. Really, the only person putting pressure on myself is me. And that's what JT keeps trying to tell me. Poor thing, he is so patient. We've been married for over 43 and a half years now. And, some habits are really hard to break. So he's been dealing with this aspect of my personality probably for our entire marriage. And, he's always thanking me for being patient with him. But I think the reverse is also true. I thank him for being patient with me because I know he can be frustrated when he sees how much I've stressed myself out for no really good reason. Oh, so I think the overwhelm leads into my procrastination, and the procrastination leads into my frustration that I can't seem to get things done when I want to get them done. So it's all just a big vicious circle that I'm working on. And we're all works in progress. Even when you reach my age in my 60s, I'm not ancient by any means, but I'm not young anymore either. And it's funny because our middle child just turned 40, and our oldest is already in her 40s, and our youngest will be 40 in a couple of years. So we'll be hearing about that for the next 2 years. And it's understandable as we reach these milestones, we all go through a period of adjustment where we're trying to figure out if we've achieved what we hope to achieve at this point in our lives and how we're going to move forward, because we know as we age, we're starting to feel the effects of time on our body. And, reaching my 60s, my dad is in his mid 80s at this point, and he's out still doing his thing, climbing on his roof to fix it, which that's a whole different level of frustration. But I can't change him at this point. He's very self-sufficient and stubborn, and I guess once he can't do that anymore, that's the point I will really have to worry. But, I don't notice other people becoming as overwhelmed by their own personal goals as I have been. Not to say that they aren't, because we each have a public face maybe that we show the world that's hiding all the things that are triggering us at any particular moment in time. So if you are feeling this, and if you are feeling like I am talking about you as I describe myself, then please know that you're not alone. More and more as I'm getting older and I'm dealing with the things that are going on with my body that nobody has talked about. My mother basically didn't talk me through puberty, and she's been gone for more than a decade now. So she did not go through natural menopause, which her and her sisters, I believe, both of them may have had hysterectomies. And so I would not have known anything about the natural menopausal process because they hadn't gone through it. And my grandparents were of a generation where they didn't talk about those things. Actually, I'll give you a quick diversion story, talking about discussing big life events. So my mother went home to visit her family in Ireland, and I was staying with my dad's parents while he worked, because he worked at that point, I believe he was working swing shifts, so like from 3 in the afternoon until midnight or something like that. So my brother and I stayed with my grandparents, and then they would drop us off at school. And so I got a permission slip because I was at that point in the school journey where they were going to start talking about our developing bodies because we're about to enter puberty. And it was rather embarrassing. I didn't want to give the form to my dad and didn't see him much during the week anyway because he was working and or sleeping. So I had to give the note to my grandmother. And my grandmother was somewhat of a stern woman. She did not show a lot of emotion. And I spent so much time with her growing up that she was like another parental figure. So she was intimidating. And I felt nervous about giving her this permission slip. And then it was interesting that she told me a story about that point in her life when she was entering her teens and how nobody had explained the process to her, what happened to a woman's body. And she was out horseback riding one day because I think they had cattle. She may have been out like herding cattle or something. The family, her parents and aunts and uncles and things like that all had dairy farms. They were Portuguese dairy farmers in California. And so she was out riding, probably rounding up cattle at one point, and got off the horse and noticed a stain on the saddle and didn't know what was happening and thought she was going to die. So that was the most emotion I had really ever seen from my grandmother. This was a woman that was so strict about regulating her emotions that she actually went around with a broken arm for several days without really admitting that she thought the arm was broken until it swelled and turned black and blue. And we finally got her in to get the arm set. So she was tough and she was intimidating. And, based on that, our family did not discuss life changes as much as we probably should have. And I think that was true of a lot of families of a certain generation. The fact that my kids are so open, my youngest is so open with her kids, and my middle lives with my youngest and helps with the kids. So they are very open about their struggles and what their bodies are going through. And I think it's a healthy thing, but it's very outside of the norm for me. So I feel a little uncomfortable still discussing those things. But I'm finding, going back to my original point, I'm finding that as I age, talking to other people my age helps to relieve some of my anxiety because this may be common to a lot of women my age due to the hormones. And I will say that post-menopause, like the first decade of post-menopause for me, I was fairly early. The first decade was pretty smooth. I didn't feel a lot of hot flashes or anything, but recently I've started to feel a change where I am experiencing those every once in a while. And it can be, anybody who's dealt with it knows that it is a frightening experience, honestly, because you think hot flashes and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm burning up. But there are other things going on with the body. You might have a racing heart, you might feel a surge of anxiety because your body is releasing a bunch of hormones. And so, long story short, TLDR, connecting with other people my age and talking about the things that I'm finding troubles handling, dealing with, like things that make me anxious, talking to other people and learning that they're having similar experiences and it's not just me. It's very helpful. So one of the reasons I'm putting out these videos is that I'm hoping if someone finds them at a particular point in their life and they feel like they're alone and they're going through things that they just don't know how to handle, that maybe, if nothing else, I can reassure you that you're not alone. And you and I may not be going through the exact same things, but I'm sure we can relate on some level. And that's why I wanted to discuss about, I can't even talk right now, discuss my feelings of overwhelm when I'm writing, because I'm sure there are other writers out there who feel the same way. And even though I do plan out my stories and I do basic outlines and things like that, I've found, and again, this is just a very recent revelation, I guess, is that I overwhelm myself to the point where I have a hard time finishing what I'm working on. and I need to just calm down, realize that this is something I do all the time. It doesn't mean that I'm a terrible writer who, I finished a book and that's it, that's all I can manage. But I've forgotten until I saw that video today that I felt the exact same way this day last year. Social media can be a problem on a lot of fronts, but I think the reminders that, good and bad things that we've experienced can be a good thing because, again, another reason why I'm putting these videos out there is so I can look back next year when I'm struggling through another book and say, oh, this isn't the first time and it won't be the last time. I'll deal with it and I will get it done. And, after I'm done tearing out all the remaining hair I have, everything will be fine. Oh, I know I talk kind of in circles around my topics when I'm posting them, so I hope they make sense to you. When I was still working, it was always nice to be able to sit down and chat with my coworkers every once in a while, and we'd have these very convoluted conversations because I could not stay on track. But I'm still friends with some of my former coworkers, so I don't think I annoyed them too much. And if you've stuck around for this convoluted video, I hope you feel the way they do, that, maybe the way I talk isn't too frustrating. That old lady discussing her random challenges with writing books that, up to this point, very few people have read, but I hope that may change at some point. One more brief little item to discuss before I close out for the day is the fact that, along with the challenges I'm facing on a personal level, my writing is me exploring those challenges. So the books I'm putting out, the first book in the Restless Spirit series, Passion Restored, was not an experience directly related to me. I was actually writing the opposite of what I experienced. And so the main character, Angela, is very close with her mother. She has lived with her mother and she's been unmarried until she reaches her 50s. And I had a contentious relationship with my mother, didn't spend a lot of time with her. So I was kind of exploring the other side of the mother-daughter relationship because I wondered what that would be like. I don't know how successful I was in creating their relationship, but Angela and Bridie do show up in book 2 at least. They may show up in all of the books in the series. I hadn't really intended to focus so much on the background characters throughout all 6 books that I have planned, but I'm finding that even if all of the books don't take place in the same location, they are dealing with the cozy community of people. And no matter where the people are located, they're keeping in touch, they are working together, they're supporting each other. And I think that's an important thing to remember as we're dealing with, we have such a huge society, and sometimes we only interact through screens like this. And even if we're distant, putting art out into the world that may reassure people, I think is a valid reason to keep doing what I'm doing, even though, like I said, not too many people have found my books yet, and I'm hoping that will change. Especially if you are an older person like me and you feel, you've grown up the same way I have, where your family didn't discuss a lot of personal or emotional things because that's just not the way things were done, then I hope maybe this resonates with you. And with the separation created by the screen, hopefully it's a little less embarrassing to talk about these things. If you comment back, hopefully it won't be as stressful as actually talking to someone face to face. So if you feel like I say something that may resonate with you, but you can't feel like you could discuss it with someone close to you personally, feel free to put, your thoughts down in the comments, and I will try to respond if I can. At this point, I my videos get very few comments or views or anything. So if that changes and I get overwhelmed, I'm not going to push myself to answer everyone, but I'll try to respond to as many people as possible. I've rambled too long again, but I hope I at least expressed my current understanding of my feelings of overwhelm in a way that may help you, may resonate with you. And I thank you for following along with the video. I thank you for, if you do leave a comment, I thank you for that. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. I'm Cassidy Carson, and this is The Life of a Writer. Take care.